Hey guys, it's Sarah and today is Booklist Thursday, and this is a video series I'm doing every Thursday with my friend Lisa from Books and Smiles. Her channel's linked down below, so make sure you go and check her out if you haven't already. And every Thursday we're just bringing you a fun little list of a topic that we pick. This week we are going to take some inspiration from Lala over at Books and Lala, and I'll leave her video down below that we're going to be kind of duplicating here. And this is going to be unpopular books that we loved. And we're going to do the same type of thing that Lala did in her video, where she went through her Goodreads and she sorted her Goodreads by lowest average rating, and then looking at the ones that she rated, you know, like a 4 or 5 stars, and kind of compare which ones had the lower ratings versus, you know, she gave them a 5 stars, but it only has like a 3-star rating on Goodreads, and kind of talk about what other people were thinking about the book versus what she thought about the book. So I thought that was very interesting, and we are going to do that today, and we're going to do our top 5. So I will do screenshots here of the Goodreads pages where it shows the average rating and then my rating. So I'll have that over here. And then I'm going to look on Goodreads as I'm talking about them and kind of see what other people were thinking about them versus what I thought. All right, the first one that I saw is Dark Horses, and this is by Cecily von Ziegerson. I don't know how to say her last name, so I'm not going to try. And this one has an average rating of a 3.28, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. So this one seems to get really mixed reviews. I saw quite a few 4 and 5 stars, and then I saw a lot of 1 and 2 stars. And a lot of the problems that people had with this book is actually one aspect of it that I really liked, and that is that you get a point of view in this book from the horse. So this follows a young girl who's pretty troubled. She's having some trouble in school and just kind of concentrating. She's having a hard time dealing with a death in the family, and she ends up going to this camp that is kind of like an equine therapy type of camp. So she gets paired up with a horse, and they kind of use the horses and all the responsibilities of taking care of a horse to kind of be their therapy and to help them through some troubled times. And so you follow not only the girl going through all this stuff, but you follow the horse as well. And the horse has thoughts, the horse has feelings. You see what he's thinking throughout this whole thing, because the horse actually has had a hard past as well, and you see him, you know, really connecting with this girl, and they've just formed this bond together. A lot of people seem to not like the point of view of the horse because they feel it was too human. I personally really liked it. I thought it was very unique, and you know, it's hard when you are reading a book that has an animal point of view, because we don't know how animals actually think. We don't know what they're thinking. Sometimes we can know what they're feeling based on their actions, but that's how we have to take it. So we don't know what their internal dialogue is, if they even have internal dialogue, or, you know, whatever. So we don't know how the animal brain works like that, the way that we can study the human brain. But I thought it was very interesting, and I've never read a book like that that had a point of view of a horse that is so incredibly focused on, you know, certain things that he's experiencing. So I really liked it. I thought that part was really cool. I didn't love all the dialogue that was used as far as, you know, his thought process and everything. But again, it's an animal, so, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that's how they really think or not. But that kind of seems to be the one big negative that people didn't like about it. And I liked that part. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. The next one that I saw is See What I Have Done. And this is written by Sarah Schmidt. And this one has an average rating of 3.29. And I gave this one 4 stars. I'm actually surprised that I rated it that highly, because I went into this book not knowing anything about it. It was strictly a cover thing for me. And I went into it thinking it was going to be like a psychological thriller type, but it ended up being a historical fiction. And I'm reading this book, and it follows this girl named Lizzie, and she is really different, this girl. Like, something is not right with her, and you know that from the beginning. You see kind of her mannerisms and everything that she does, and you're just like, something is not right here. And there is a tragedy in their family where her father and her stepmother are brutally murdered, brutally, like with an axe, murdered. And Lizzie she becomes the main suspect for these happenings, but you don't really know what happened, because it doesn't go through it like that. It doesn't, say whether or not she did this or whether or not someone broke into her house and did this the way that she's claiming. And, she goes on trial, and it's this whole thing. So I'm reading this whole thing. I have no idea who did this. I was pretty invested in it though. Like, I was really interested in her as a character. And, I was trying to figure out, did she do this or not? Because it seems like she probably did, especially with the way that she's reacting to all the backlash from it and, the circumstances. And so I read it. I gave it 4 stars. It's something that I would probably want to go back and reread after some time, and just to kind of get more in depth into it. Come to find out, this is based on a true story, and I had no idea. I had no idea who Lizzie Borden was. Somebody made a comment in the video where I was talking about this book and said Lizzie Borden was a real person, and this event actually happened, and she actually was the suspect for it, but she was never convicted, but she went on trial and did all this stuff. So I did not know that this was based on an actual real person, and like her house is still standing and you can go and visit it, and I think it's like a bed and breakfast now. You can actually go and have like a Lizzie Borden experience. And I was just, that made me more fascinated. And I think if I had gone into it knowing that it was a real person, I probably would have enjoyed it more, which is why I want to reread it sometime. And I don't know, I was very, very fascinated by this whole thing. What I'm getting from the feedback from people that I'm seeing on Goodreads, is why they were rating it lower, is I feel that maybe some of them didn't understand that it was a real person as well. So this wasn't just the author making up something. Like, she is actually kind of following along with actual events. Obviously, it's a historical fiction. She did take some liberties, or had to take some liberties, because there's still a lot about this case that people still to this day do not know about, the time frame and what actually happened and the reports. And, this was taking place in like, I think the 1800s or early 1900s, something like that. So it was a very long time ago where they didn't keep records the same way that we do today. So there's a lot that's been lost. And I don't know, I think people maybe, number one, just like me, maybe didn't know that she was an actual person, or number two, maybe they are so incredibly fascinated by this case that they know so much about it, or feel that they know so much about it, that they don't think that Sarah Schmidt did a good job in kind of depicting it. But that's also her right to do that, because this is a fiction book. It's a work of fiction. It's not a nonfiction book. So she has the right to take liberties, whichever way that she wants to. So that's kind of what I'm getting from the feedback from people. And, that's a tough crowd. If you have people who are so incredibly engrossed in something and then you write a fiction novel about it, sometimes it's hard to please. But I personally really enjoyed it. Again, I would like to read it again, maybe after reading some nonfiction about Lizzie Borden. If you guys have any suggestions for that, could you leave them down below for me if that's something that you have read or that you've heard about. I would like to actually learn more about her as a person. The next one that I saw is a book called Retail Hell, and this is written by Freeman Hall, and the average rating for this one is 3.53, and I gave this one 5 stars. Now, I read this one a very long time ago, so I think that if I read it now, I probably wouldn't give it 5 stars. But at the time when I read it, I had just kind of come off a retail job. I was actually an assistant manager at Banana Republic. So I was working in retail. I had worked there, I think, for 3 years, and worked my way from just like a sales associate all the way up to assistant manager. And so a lot of things that he was talking about in this book, I could definitely relate to. So this is a nonfiction book, and it's just kind of like funny stories about working in retail and the customers he deals with, and things that have to go along with the job. So I really understood a lot of what he was talking about, because I had lived that, and a lot of the customer experiences he had, I had similar things. And so at the time, I really just connected with it because I had just come out of that environment. Today, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much. I'd probably still get a few laughs, but I don't think I'd give it a 5 stars today. And some of the reviews that I'm seeing kind of come down on him a little bit about, talking about customers and, I mean, honestly, though, any job that you have where you're dealing in customer service, you're going to have stories. It doesn't matter what job you're in or where you're working or whatever. You're going to have like some crazy customer stories. You are going to deal with people from all sorts of walks of life, and they're going to make you question your sanity and they're going to make you question the way society is going. Like, it's just crazy. But I think some people may have taken offense to some of the things that he said, but you know, what can you do? This next one that I saw in there, I was actually kind of surprised that it had such a low rating, but that is Monsters by Liz Kay. And this one actually has an average rating of a 3.61, and I gave this book 5 stars. This one I actually mentioned in another BookList Thursday, and that was the hate to love relationships, and this one definitely has that in there. Now, upon reading all of, you know, some of the like 1 and 2 star ratings, I understand people's point of view. A lot of people took a lot of issues that this relationship is extremely unhealthy, and it is. This is not a healthy relationship. And it takes a long time to get to a point where they are even kind of healthy. So I get that. There's also a lot of talk of abuse in here. And I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I think that if there was any type of like, you know, verbal abuse or anything like that, it went both ways. So it wasn't just one person doing it to the other. They were both guilty in here. And that's why it was more like a hate to love thing. And it was just like one of those things where they're so incredibly attracted to each other and they both know it, but they're both denying it. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of people just had issues with, you know, the way they were saying, the way that the man treated the woman, but it was both ways, guys. It was. I read this book. It was both ways. She was not very good to him either. So, you know, don't pick out the woman as the victim in this one necessarily. She dished out what she took as well. So there is that. That's why it's called Monsters with an S. I just don't read books critically to the point where things like that bother me, because I know that this is a work of fiction and I know that it's not healthy and I know that this is not normal. So I don't let that affect, you know, my enjoyment of the book. So yeah, I don't know. I just know that when I picked this up, I had a hard time putting it down. I picked it up one night, like when I was getting ready for bed, and I got in bed and I picked it up and I ended up reading half the book in one sitting. I was up until like 1:30 or 2 in the morning reading, which I never do because I just couldn't put it down. I just loved it so much. So I don't know. That's where I really find myself struggling with, you know, some of the reviews that I'm seeing of the same books I'm reading, because some things bother people that just doesn't bother me. And a lot of it is, you know, abusive relationships and unhealthy and blah, blah, blah. And I totally get that. And, you know, obviously everyone is entitled to their own opinion. My personal opinion is that, you know, those types of things don't deter me from a book. And it may be because I have never experienced things like that. I've had some emotional abusive relationships in the past. I have. But I don't let that deter me, you know, from a book or thinking that, you know, it's harmful or blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, so this next one is something that I'm surprised this has less than a 4-star rating on Goodreads. It has a 3.75, so that's still not terrible. That's actually a pretty good rating, but I was shocked it was low. Like, to me, I felt like that was low for this book, and from what I have heard people reading this book and, you know, everybody loving it so much, and then I get on there and I'm like, why is it below a 4? I don't understand. And that's Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. Now, this one has a 3.75 again, so that's not really low. That's actually a pretty good rating. I would give this book 10 stars if I could. And upon reading some of the lower ratings and some of the reviews, I had a feeling I knew why it got a low rating, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the ending of this book, because the ending was weird, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And someone had said that this book gives away too much too soon, and I do not agree with that at all. It took me a while to figure out what in the world was going on, like actually going on in here. This follows a woman who is having an affair with her married boss, and she's also forming a friendship with his wife. So you're kind of seeing this happen. And it took me a while to figure out what was actually going on in here. You kind of read this and you think you kind of know what's happening, and no, you do not. It doesn't matter what you think, you do not know what's going to be happening in this book. Like, you could never guess. And that's what I loved about it. And, you know, this isn't a long book either. It's pretty short, so it packed a lot in, you know, not a ton of space. But the ending, oh my gosh, the last chapter, like, I still think about the ending of this book. It just completely shocked me. It took a turn I never saw coming, ever. And yeah, the last chapter, just, I went, what the actual hell just happened. And I love it when books do that. I will give people that some people didn't like it. They didn't like the end. They didn't like the twist. I get it. I totally get it. For me personally, I thought it was brilliant. I loved it because it's just not something you would ever see coming. So yeah, I loved it. Like, seriously, I would give it 10 stars. Okay guys, so those are 5 of the books that I have read that I gave higher ratings to that not a lot of other people did. I thought that was a very interesting experiment, and Lisa and I might do something where we flip it and we talk about books that everyone else loved but we did not enjoy. So I think that would be a fun way to kind of flip that as well. I challenge you guys to look at your Goodreads and to sort your read shelf by average rating. Make sure the lowest ones show up first and kind of compare and see what you rated really high that other people didn't. I think it would be kind of fun to see what those are. If you guys do that, come back here and let me know what some of your findings are. And please make sure you go check out Lisa's video as well. I'm really excited to see what her answers are. So I will have her channel linked down below, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day. Bye.